another episode of The Handy Life. Today's project is going to be putting in a simple and inexpensive gun safe in my house. To do that by using a void space that's already below the stairs here. This first flight of stairs has a little triangular void space that we're going to use, and the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to cut a hole into the drywall, put some hinges on it, make a door, and make it lockable as well. And it's going to serve as a perfectly good little gun safe for our house. I'm going to put it in this closet. The access is going to be through this closet right next to the stairs. The closet actually doglegs to the right, just below the stairs. So I'm going to put the door on the back side. So you can't see the door from here, so it's kind of concealed. You have to get all the way into the closet to even know that there's any access below the stairs here where the guns will be. So let's get started. All right, we're inside the closet now. We're looking right here at the back of that dog leg to the right and goes underneath the stairs. So here's the void. Behind this wall is the void below the first flight of stairs. What I've done so far is make a cut line, make a cutout into the wall using a standard drywall saw. So I'll take it off and show you what I did. I cut this line based on where the studs were. There's a stud here and a stud here. I knew that using my stud finder. And I cut it to this height here and then along the top along this line. Now that I have access to the space, I can see exactly what's down there, and it's a good amount of space. I put some carpet in, some scrap carpet that I had left over from another job. So this is what we have. This is what's going to be used to store the guns. All right, we're out in the garage with our piece of drywall that we cut. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to make a frame, and I've already started the frame. This is just 2x4s that I've cut to the right lengths that I need them. And on the back you can see I've already started putting pocket holes in and putting screws in. I like pocket holes, as you guys have seen probably from my closet video if you watched that one. A couple of things that I didn't mention in that, and these are all Kreg tools that I'm using. This is a face frame clamp. It helps to keep everything flush when you're first driving in your screws. What I'm using here is 2.5 inch softwood, plywood pocket hole screws for this job. And one thing you want to keep note of, if you don't already know this, maybe you don't work a lot with wood or you haven't done a lot of woodworking projects with a lot of joinery, but if you're using pocket holes or anytime you're trying to screw into wood, you want to be screwing across grain. When you screw across the wood grain, you'll get the best hold and the best pull with the screw. If I were to screw a screw into the end grain here on the wood, I wouldn't get a very good hold. That's why I've cut the wood like this, because I wanted the pocket holes to go into this piece of wood and then across the grain into the top and lower headers of this frame. So I've made it like that. I've only got to put a couple more screws in here, so I'll show you how this is done. Basically put it on here, line it up, and this is where you could use that face frame clamp that I showed you from Kreg. I'm just going to do it without. And now it's in. So like I said, just a couple more screws to put in, but this is going to form the back frame of the door. Give it some strength. All right, we're back in the room. Let's see what our little frame ended up looking like. Here it is. Right here, and how it fits into the slot. We got a little bit of space. I cut it such that there was about 1/4 inch of a gap on all sides, because of course I don't want the frame sticking when it closes or rubbing up against the stud on this side or having any interference issues. So the next step is to frame this opening out a little bit more, like I mentioned I was going to do. I've got a little bottom plate that I'm going to put in, a little bottom 2x4. I've already got some pocket holes drilled in on both sides. So that's prepped and ready to go. So what I want to do is stick it in at this location and have it flush with the top edge of this cut piece of drywall. Now there's a couple ways I could do that. I could stick it in and tap it 1,000,000 times up and down with a hammer until I got it just right and then hope it doesn't move on me. I just went ahead and put some blocks in here instead. So it's a block on this side, a block on this side. That way I can just hammer it down until it makes contact with the blocks and know it's in the right spot. Then I screw it in. I'm not going to have the clearance that I need to be able to use my regular drill that I'd like to use. I'm just not going to be able to get in there without bumping because the opening is so small. So there's many cases that this type of thing is going to happen, and you're going to need a right angle drill. Again, Ryobi. good tools. So that's gonna have plenty of room to fit in there. I got the bit already on there that I'm gonna use. It's gonna have plenty of room to get in there and drive that screw and get the job done. Okay, we've attached the drywall to the frame that we made, and I've also added another piece back here because I know that my my doorknob is going to go here, and I think it's probably going to come, the hole for the doorknob is actually going to come a little bit off of this piece of 2x4, so I went and lapped it with another one just in case. And I as you can see, I put a pocket hole here and a pocket hole here, so the screws won't interfere with where the hole placement for the knob has to be. So you got to think about that if you're putting a knob on this. The next thing that I need to do is I'm going to trim this out before I have it in place on the wall. And then what I'm going to use is baseboard. I've already attached some of these pieces. You can see I've already 45'd them with the miter saw. And I've attached them with CA glue from BSI. You can buy this on Amazon. Some good stuff. You can attach your trim pieces before you nail them, because oftentimes when you nail trim pieces, if you've done that with a brad nailer, you know that you hit that brad nailer and it shoots that nail in, and the trim piece can move slightly, and then you end up with a gap. If you glue them together first, you don't end up with that, and it's pretty nice. So it's going to go like this because our hinge is on this side. This side's going to be flush with the edge. All the other sides, there's going to be a bit of an overlap, about an inch overlap on each side. And like I said, that's going to be used to cover the cuts on the drywall. So you won't be able to see it. This part will close up flush against the wall, and this part will just have a hinge. And the hinge we're going to use is just a basic utility hinge from Home Depot. It's painted white. And there's going to be one that's going to go there like that, and another one that's going to go a little bit further down. I might have a slight issue when it comes to putting this piece of the baseboard on, this piece of the trim. I'm still going to have my 1-inch overhang on the back side, but because of the placement of the doorknob, I may have to notch a little part out of this so the doorknob can fit. I'm expecting that to happen. We'll see if it does. You can see right now, based on where my circle is that I've drawn from where the hole needs to be for the doorknob, there is some overlap, so I'm expecting to have to take a little chunk out of this to be able to fit the doorknob on. And from there, it shouldn't be too bad. You know, this piece, I'll have to make my doorknob hole right here, and then another hole into the 2x4 on the back side to fit the latch or the doorknob catch, and then it'll just be attaching it to the wall. Alright guys, you just saw me making the little arc cutout for the baseboard here. As I suspected, the knob did interfere with the baseboard, so as you can see, I did have to make a little cutout there to make it work, and to make it to where the knob was actually flush with the surface of the drywall throughout. Otherwise it would have looked kind of wonky and stupid, so I didn't want to do that. So anyway, put that on. Then I came back with another hole saw, the right size hole saw, and I used the template that comes with the knob. Every single knob you buy has a little piece of paper template, so I just traced it out where it needed to be, used a hole saw, drilled the big hole through this and through the back side, and then the small hole through here for where the knob catch was going to be. I made sure the knob catch was centered up on the 2x4, so I've got wood on this side, wood on this side. You're really going to have to yank and pull to break this door open. I mean, it's a pretty sturdy door by this point with the frame on it and everything's attached. So now pretty much you just have to fill nail holes, paint the sides that I cut down a little bit, because this isn't the full baseboard. This is the same baseboard as our house, but we've cut about a 1/2 inch off just so it's not as thick. And I like the look of it. That's what it's going to end up looking like. Let's see what it looks like in place before we paint it. Alright, pretty nice. So as you can see, like I said, this covers up the cuts on the drywall, so it's all flush. The baseboard is flush. That's exactly what I wanted, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now it's just a matter of putting the hinges on this side so it can open up, and drilling the hole for the catch in here. That's going to help it to stay closed, and painting the sides. Okay, I've marked the locations of the 2 hinges that are going to go into the stud here. I actually need to mortise these down, make basically a recess at this location similar to the recess, the mortises that you see in any door around the house, and then to the door jamb. Except this is going to be a little deeper. I didn't put a mortise on the door side on this one. And if you don't put a mortise on the door side, you don't put a mortise on the jamb right here, then what you're going to have is a door that sticks a good way away from the stud. So I need to recess that down. I'm going to be just using simple chisels to do this, and I will show you a picture when it's done. Okay, I roughed out those mortises. They're in place. The recess is there. The hinges are in. Everything closes up nicely. It goes right in there just the way that I want it. And now all I've got to do is make a hole for my strike plate. It's going to go inside here, and the way I marked it out was I put this right up against here, and you can see my little pencil mark that I made, just so I know where that falls. And then I basically am just going to be making a hole right on the inside of the stud in the wall, so it can fall right in place, catch, and then I'll be able to lock the door the way I want to. And here's the strike plate in place. I did have to mortise down, make a recess behind the strike plate so that it was flush with the 2x4, because if I didn't do that, then the door would have interfered when it was trying to close. To make the hole for the latch to actually go into, I used what's called a Forstner bit. It's a good bit, it makes a good circular hole and leaves the bottom relatively flat, which is what I wanted in this case. And inside the closet, you can see I've already put the guns in, a couple of shotguns, some ammunition. It really has plenty of room for this and more, so I've got some more storage in here as well. And I'm really happy with the amount of space that I've got back here. It's really just turned out perfectly. Here is the finished product. So we've got the door. Came out pretty good. See how it closes? Nice and tight fit into there. Shuts pretty well. Nice and tight along the edge. Very little plate. I can actually adjust that on the strike plate if I want to. And then to lock it, just turn our key. And now this thing's locked. So I've got a perfectly good little safe. I think all in, baseboard, knob, 2x4, some hinges, about 50 bucks. That's probably even a little bit on the high side. And I've got a perfectly good gun safe now. It sure beats going to the store and buying a multiple $1,000 gun safe, giant heavy safe that's going to take up all kinds of space. And here I just used a void space in my wall that I already had, and this just going to work out perfectly. Yeah, consider that. I think this is a wrap. I'm really happy with the project, and I think it's time for a beer.